Hi everyone, Jessica here, and I'm doing something a little different in this video. I am doing something relating to crafting and cosplay, despite what you're seeing on the screen right now. And I have some video game footage here because this game, Final Fantasy XIV, which is an online MMORPG game, will be the inspiration for the part of the cosplay I'm working on in this video. You see, I have a cosplay that I consider my casual cosplay when I don't feel like wearing something heavy, and that is my 2B/A2 Viera playable character cosplay, both from Nier Automata and Final Fantasy XIV. If you didn't know, they had a fun crossover event where you could unlock 2B's outfit. And personally, I prefer A2 over 2B, but I don't really like her outfit that much in the game. So that's why it's kind of a version of both, because when I wear this cosplay, I have 2B's outfit on, and I have the hair length of A2. But also, I don't really like walking around the con with a blindfold, so therefore I also put another twist on it where I'm actually a playable character who is of the Viera race, which is known as the bunny race. So you'll notice in this photo that my ears aren't the best. They were literally, I think, like 20 bucks, probably not even 20 actually. I think they were 10 bucks on Amazon. And they were just like a temporary thing I was gonna do to indicate I was part of the Viera race. But really they just looked like cheap bunny ears that were part of a costume. So I knew I was eventually gonna have to make these ears to look more realistic. And since I didn't make this cosplay, I prefer to make most of my cosplays. I just bought it to have a casual cosplay to wear to cons every once in a while. I decided I am finally going to make my bunny ears for this cosplay. And because I have to be extra, instead of just sewing cosplay ears, I decided to crochet them for this project. So here is my actual character from Final Fantasy XIV. She is of the Viera race, and as you can see, I put her in 2B's outfit. And I also gave her white long hair to kind of give you guys an idea behind the inspiration of this cosplay. So for this cosplay, I plan on making bunny ears, but of course they're not going to be nearly this long. And also I have here an example of how I put flowers on my playable character hair, but it only covers a part of the top of her head. And for these bunny ears, I'm actually going to be putting flowers across the ears to kind of hide the headband. The pattern for this project is going to be Crochet's verse. Crochet bunny headband pattern, furry cosplay costume, woodland rabbit, Easter spring costume. And like usual, I am not going to be sharing any part of the pattern because I do not own this pattern. But like always, I will be linking the pattern below in the description. And this is actually a pretty good pattern. It's very simple and easy to follow, and I highly recommend it. So for the materials I will have for this project, here's the old bunny ears. I will be upcycling the headband underneath the fabric to serve as my base. To help make up for the weak headband, I'll be using this metal that is used for support when making corsets, glue to the top of the headband, because when reading the instructions I saw that the creator said they broke a couple headbands in the process of making the bunny ears. These are the color yarn I selected: white and pink. Pink for the inner ear, and white because most androids in Nier Automata have white hair. This pattern does have how you can make crochet flowers. However, I have these leftover headbands from Hot Topic's boho stage from when I was in college in the 2010s. Yes, I know I'm aging myself there.
Oh, I'm like the Crypt Keeper! Okay, that's enough.
I decided to upcycle these flowers for the bunny ears. I will also be adding in these leftover fake pearls that I have from when I made the necklace for my Lady D cosplay. The tools I will be using are, of course, crochet hooks. This pattern recommends 5.5 millimeters and 4.5, and darning needles to help sew everything together. A seam reaper to help me get the headband out of the old bunny ears. My trusty hot glue that I totally do not burn my fingers with every time I use it. And of course, my handy dandy scissors that every crafter needs for their projects. First thing I decided to do, free the headband from these cheap bunny ears. It was actually quite in there, some sort of fashion tape, where at one point I had to grab my partner's screwdriver and kind of scrape off the fashion tape or glue, whatever it was. Then I glued the metal boning to the headband to help give it more support. And then it was time to start making the bunny ears. This pattern is a double yarn pattern, which means you crochet with 2 strands of yarn at once. It does help create a stronger base so that the ears can stand up on their own and wouldn't have to rely too much on wires or crafting pipe cleaners that some crafters use. I personally like that it was a double yarn crochet pattern. The only thing is that can make it a little bit heavier on the headband. But also another thing to keep in mind, that the reason why it took me a little longer to make these is this is a double pattern, which means when you're at the smaller part of working in a round, it's much more difficult to pull through 2 pieces of yarn as opposed to just one. And it really gives your hands a workout when you're in the smaller section of the crochet, but does get easier once you build up to the larger section of the crochet. These ears didn't take too long to make. I only recorded myself making one because I wanted to relax my back while I was making the other one because I have a bad back. The longest part was what any crocheter would know when it comes to crochet, where you have to make something long but stay a consistent size, and that's repeating the same number of stitches per row multiple times. That can get a little tedious, but that comes with any crochet project. So I would say at most an ear probably took me about 30 to 40 minutes to make. Here are the 2 outer bunny ears finished. Then it was time to do the inner ear. Luckily, this wasn't a circle crochet round, it was a chain round to make the inner ear, because with the 2 strands of yarn, it is kind of difficult to crochet a circle round. This liquid death can randomly appears here because my wonderful partner brought me a liquid death tea in the middle of this unexpectedly, and I appreciate him for that because it gets so hot in the kitchen in my apartment sometimes. And then the final thing to crochet is the headband piece that goes around the plastic headband to cover it. And because this is a double strand crochet, you can see me really playing crochet chicken here with my yarn, because I was really starting to run out of white at this point, because using 2 strands of yarn really eats away at your yarn. And here's everything that needed to be crocheted. Overall, that probably took 2.5 to 3 hours to do. Then it was time to sew the outer ears to the inner ears with my darning needle. And then here I'm sewing together the 2 sides of the headband so I can feed the plastic headband into it after I'm done, so the ears have something to be sewn onto. The next thing to do is to give the ears a fluffy effect. Most crocheters, when doing this step, will take something like a unused cat brush and brush the fur to give it more of a fluffy effect. But actually, this pattern recommended something I haven't seen before, and that is taking the hook side of the Velcro strap and running it in circles across the yarn, not to do it too hard so it doesn't pull on the yarn so much, and then rubbing it up and down and back and forth as well.
That's what she said.
And I kind of preferred this technique over doing the brush out technique. And here's a comparison between the 2 ears. One is fluffed out with the Velcro technique and the other one hasn't been touched yet.
That's what she said.
I personally think the fluffed out one does help give it more of a realistic bunny look. And now it was time to sew the bunny ears to the headband once I figured out the placement I wanted for the ears. Oh yeah, and if you're wondering why it looks like my mannequin head has a bloody nose, that's because I used this mannequin to paint my Lilith horns from Hazbin Hotel red. So pretty much it's just left over from that. And then the final step was gluing on the fake flowers. I didn't have really a plan for these flowers. I just glued them on with hot glue where I thought they looked pretty. I put them on both the front and back to make sure the headband has balance because the strap is pretty big. So it is going to have to be bobby pinned to my head regardless, but putting some flowers in the back will help it not be too heavy in the front. And then of course I also strung the fake pearls as well. And after that, it was all done. That's the end of my video. Thanks for watching. I just want to say real quick that the bunny ears are a little heavy, so I am gonna have to bobby pin them like crazy to my wig, but otherwise I very much enjoyed how the bunny ears came out. Hope you did too. If so, leave a comment, but I hope you have an amazing day and I'll see you guys in my next video.